Hello and welcome to another episode of The Crossover. Now, if you're wondering whether you've got to change your levels on your TV, I assure you there's nothing wrong with your TV. I decided to go one-on-one against the sun yesterday and, as expected, came out second best. That's why I'm looking like a bit of a beetroot today. But anyway, Liam Santamaria also works. Damon Lowery, how you doing?
Can't complain.
I'm good. You know what? I've jumped into Cam Luke's seat because he's over there doing his Super Bowl. And you know what I thought I'd do? I'm going to slip into his shoes as well. You know, dogs urinate on the side of something to mark their territory?
Yep.
I think this is going to be my new thing.
That was a mistake.
Yeah, I'd fit into his clothes, but I'm never going to do myself that dirty. So anyway, let's jump into the game here. New Zealand and Tasmania. Game one. Thoughts, queries, concerns?
Shout out the Breakers. They completely locked them up. Kept Tassie to, in the 60s? Sub 40% from the field, sub 30% from three. That's the number one ranked defence in the league. The Breakers, and in their first opportunity in the postseason to bring it, they brought it in a very big way.
And as we know, when the final series starts, the shooting percentages tend to drop. The play gets a little bit more physical. This suits the New Zealand Breakers down to a T. So when that score was low, like 37 to 35 at the half, I'm thinking, this kind of suits them. They don't mind that. I said at the time, first team to 60 will get this win. And how is your Will McDowell-White stock going?
Straight up. I was really looking forward to watching him in the postseason because, you know, in the start of the year, we knew he was handed the keys, most improved player, it was going to happen. He came very close to your man, Keanu Pinder. 16-8-8 was the talk. And then in the last part of the season, he was putting up those kind of numbers, threatening the triple-double. But it was like, OK, well, how does it go when the pressure arrives in the postseason? When you're scouted to the level of saying, hey, we've got to cut the head off the snake and guard Will McDowell-White. And today, he brought it big time. Well,
I love this season for Will McDowell-White because for so long he's been almost a myth. You know, we saw him go over to Germany and no one really knew what was going on there. He was playing a bit. Sometimes he wasn't. Came over here and it was a bit stop-start. But this, as you say, has been a huge breakout season. He's absolutely lived up to every expectation.
And one game away from the championship series. He's unrattable, like unrattleable.
Unrattable.
He can run the pick and roll, and he says, oh, what are you guys doing? Oh, you're trapping me? Oh, you're going to take that roll away? That guy's open, bang. He knows that everybody is. His court vision is exquisite. He's playing at a real high level right now, and good on him.
He's playing at the highest level of his life right now in the playoffs of the NBL as the guy for whom the ball is in his hands. He's essentially the franchise player.
Yeah.
Hey, Barry Brown Jr., third in the league in scoring, sixth man of the year, all NBL. Derek Pardon, Jarrell, all those. But Will McDowell-White is the guy that makes that team hum, and he really brought it today.
Where's the ceiling for him? Because right now, when I look at Will McDowell-White's game, I think NBA drop coverage on the on-ball screens, that's something where he can really excel. Now, guys just need their opportunity. Do you think that's going to come through Summer League?
Well, he's still really young. Like, what is he, like 24?
I think he's 24 because he went over to Germany at like 18.
Yeah.
He went over super young.
Love to see him get a Summer League, another Summer League opportunity.
It's all timing. Right spot, right time. You can't tell me that if he's in NBA right now, he'd be the worst guard in the league. You couldn't tell me that. So it's just a matter of opportunity.
I always tell people that's why I didn't make the NBA. It was all just wrong timing, you know. Unfortunately, it was me playing basketball, which was the biggest issue. Going over to Tasmania. Now, New Zealand is a hard place to win. Tassie is an extremely hard place to win. How put off are we by that result there? Do we think we're going to be able to claw it back on Thursday?
I'm pretty sure my man Dame is going to go the same way. I'm taking Tassie in game two. This is the best bounce-back team in the NBL.
Yeah.
They are the epitome of next play mentality, but then they take that to another level in terms of next game. And I think they'll just wipe the slate clean of this one. Now, they really missed Josh Bajett. So that was an issue today against the tough defence of the Breakers, that just him orchestrating the offence. They missed that. They're not going to get that back for this game. But still, in that cauldron-like atmosphere of My State Bank Arena, with the way this team is built mentally, I see them bouncing back.
New Zealand, you can put your brooms away. Ain't going to happen. There will be no sweep. Like we said, we've been saying it for a long time, Liam. Bounce back team of the season. They know how to respond. And that score at halftime, they had it right where they wanted it, 37-35. They just couldn't get the scoreboard ticking over. Jack McVay was quiet. Milton Doyle was quiet. I'm not expecting those guys to have back-to-back quiet games. So this series is going to 3 games.
Well, someone who usually doesn't have back-to-back quiet games, Bryce Cotton, who put on some, which we're going to touch on later, absolute heroics against South East Melbourne. Now, the Cairns-Perth game, good if you're a Cairns fan, but pretty disappointing that Perth weren't able to just, keep that rolling.
Well, very disappointing because your season's over, right? Like it couldn't get more disappointing. But from a Cairns perspective, great result. I mean, obviously you save your season, you win, you advance. You were nearly a top 2 team, so to get bounced in consecutive games and not make that Final Four would have been hugely disappointing and heavily undermanned. Missing 2 really key guys. And I was just really impressed by the way they came out. Hogue was amazing, obviously, but Bull Quoll as well, stat sheet stuffing, Sam Wardenberg, Shannon Scott.
Sam Wardenberg's been out of this world this year. Just a fantastic pickup for him.
Epic. So, Coach of the Year, his fairy tale squad brought it.
Well, Perth, that wasn't disappointing. That was about as far as they could get. Let's not forget.
Yeah.
They're horrific on defense. Let's just not forget that. They did good by surviving the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix game, but they was always going to get found out. And they ran up on those tropical shooting Taipans, and it was only a matter of time. When I saw that Tajir Ponkal wasn't playing, first thing I thought was, now you're going to get more of Bull. You're going to get more of DJ.
Yeah,
you're going to get more of these guys. And they all 6'9". Everybody on the team, Ben Air 6'9".
No, he's not.
Shannon Scott.
He plays like he's 6'9".
But the way they built, they don't have a 5, man. You say, okay, DJ Hogue's the 5. Sam Wardenberg's the 5. No, they're not. They're on the 3-point line, punishing mismatches. And it was just like you said in the call, it turned into a shell drill.
Yeah.
Penetrate, kick, shoot. And when those shots are dropping, they are tough to beat.
Well, you look at DJ Hogue, we talk about being undermanned. He was absolutely unbelievable, 32 points. You talk about players needing to step up in big games, especially when teams are undermanned. This was just a clinic.
Sometimes it's hard to recognise it on the day and in the moment. But make no mistake, this was an all-time type of performance from DJ Hogue. Franchise record-setting stuff from the import, the most points by a Cairns Taipans player in a postseason game, and in a do-or-die situation, to come out and just blow up like that, just to make it rain from long range, loved it, especially when, coming out of the locker room, it was clear they were going to DJ Hogue to begin the game. Get him touches, get him going, and he responded emphatically.
A shooter like that, I saw it in Darwin, in the blitz. That stroke, even when he has an off-shooting night, you just know the guy shoots way too good to have bad shooting performances back-to-back. And he's going up against a bad defensive team. 1 + 1 = 2. It was only a matter of time. And they made him a focal point, but then Bull Quoll managed to stay out of foul trouble.
Yeah.
If he's on the floor, Bull Quoll can fill the stat sheet as we saw, like 28 and 7, something like that. And then everybody else just feeds off of those guys. And like you said, they don't get the credit they deserve on the defensive end because sometimes they do get in foul trouble. But they can lock you up, and then they get out and run. Their style of play travels regardless of who's in or who's out.
And we talk about Adam Ford, Coach of the Year. Masterful performance from him because sometimes DJ Hogue can just chill a little.
Yeah, that's what I've always that's why he surprises me when he comes out with these games, because that real sort of lackadaisical, moves slowly, he's cutting through the key, almost walking at times.
Yeah, and he's not a selfish guy. He's kind of, so sometimes he doesn't assert his will and his authority on the game. So Adam Ford at the start of the game says, look, mate, you don't have a choice. We're going at you and we want you to make plays. And it gets Hogue going and into the game. And you talk about Bull Quoll staying out of foul trouble. Why? Because he didn't put him on Bryce Cotton, Shannon Scott, Ben Air. Those guys played the majority of the minutes on Bryce. Bull, meanwhile, we need you to defend Corey Webster, because that's also an important matchup. But also, we need you to give us something at the offensive end today. And he had 25 and 7 assists, nearly a triple-double.
Adam Ford said, Bryce, you're not going to beat us. You get 20 assists, that's not going to win the game. They switched every ball screen that he was involved in, Bryce, and every time he comes off a screen, who's there? Somebody 6'9", Lat Man, DJ, Wardenberg, and they forced him to penetrate.
Yeah.
Sometimes he might make a floater, but most of the times he was kicking it out, and he had 10 assists, which is great, but you ain't going to win the game like that.
Well, that's the blueprint to beating Perth. And it's one of those ones where you watch these games sometimes, you think, why aren't more teams trying this with a guy the calibre of Bryce Cotton?
Tricky, really hard. But
much easier said than done.
But it was the right thing to do. No threes and keep him off the free throw line. If he kills us with floaters or by finding other guys, it is what it is. But no threes, He had 4 3-point attempts and 4 free throw attempts. And they won the game.
Working well. 40, Coach of the Year, had some words to say about their upcoming series with Sydney, because you're going to need absolutely every bit of your firepower in this one.
Yeah, and I said it during the awards night too, is the championship runs through Sydney. You know, they've won it. They've proved themselves to be the team to beat again. They got the league MVP. They've got 2 first teams. They got a fantastic coach. They got great role players. They go deep into the bench. They're the best team, and they're sitting on top of the ladder for a reason. And so it's really important that we want to test ourselves against that. You know, we made a lot of improvements this season, but the reality is there's no pressure on us. You know, we were tipped to finish dead last, and as long as the boys go out and enjoy their basketball, and you don't want to leave any regret. You know, you want to go out there and say, oh, I gave it my best shot. And if it's not good enough, we shake their hand and we move on. But, you know, I think our best can match it with anybody, and we've showed that multiple times throughout the season.
Well, first off, 40 looks like he might have just come from a night at Gilligan's with that. The stresses on these coaches in this league is visible there. But look, the interesting one for me is with Adam Ford, and we spoke about this off air. The previous history was Sydney, that he was there, they moved him on, and now he's coach of the year.
And the Wildcats. I mean, he and his squad just finished off one of his former teams, and now he gets the opportunity in the semi-finals to go up against one of his other former teams. And I like the way he's billing it as well. Like, we're a small market, we're a punch above our weight kind of team. I'm a punch above my weight kind of guy, and we're going to just take a shot at the king.
Playing with house money. You guys all picked them last. That's what he said. So now we're going to go out there, and like he said, our style of play, when we get out our best, we can beat you. Don't worry about that.
I'm 100% here for the Adam Ford revenge tour that we are seeing here, and I hope that they manage to get through, although I would love to see a Sydney Grand Final series. But the Perth Wildcats, season's over. The one that there's a lot of criticism coming on, you know, Hutchie, the owner, right now John Riley. The Perth fans, they're so used to success that right now they're in a bit of a flux at the moment.
Well, I don't think it was a raging failure this season,
No,
and I
not at
don't
all.
think it was a roaring success either. Because the Perth Wildcats are built to win championships, and in the end, they don't get down to the Final Four. But as we've spoken about, and as you just talked about a little bit before, if you don't defend at a high level in the NBL, you can't win the title.
Yeah.
And you're not going to go very far in the playoffs. So that's what happened to them. Yeah, they had a great moment against Sydney at home. They had a really nice last month of the season. A great moment against Sydney. An unbelievable fourth quarter, 40 points on the board to get over South East Melbourne. But when push comes to shove, you'll get found out if you're a subpar defensive team.
If you can't, like you said, defense travels, theirs didn't. Case over. They had an offensive team. All those guys, their starting 5 is the most prolific scorers on their day the league has seen in a while, I reckon. But on the other end, you can't stop anybody else. So it's only a matter of time. Teams are going to scheme against Bryce, and Bryce is going to just have to play like his life depends on it to try to get over the line. So what happens is you're playing one half of the floor, and like I said, it's going to dry up at some point. Now, these guys, you might think personnel, do we make some changes? What do we do? How about this? Just play some D, man. How about that? Like when Ty Webster came in and said, what can we expect? Ty Webster said, buckets. I'd have been like, what else? It's more to life than buckets. Can you stop other buckets? That's the problem. So if they could just maybe expand their emphasis, keep the offensive, what you guys already got, but you guys got to get good on this end. And I think if they ran it back, who knows what could happen.
Well, that's enough Perth chat until next season, but it is time before the break here to throw to the Sportsbet boys. You might recognise one of them because there's been some budget cuts at Sportsbet. Just couldn't afford to get anyone else in.
Welcome to At The Line. My name is Simon Legg. We're here to talk about the NBA. I'm normally joined by Josh Jenkins, but I'm joined by Felix. And did we pre-plan our outfits?
Well, unfortunately, I live like an absolute pig, and this is the only shirt that I haven't washed.
Well, you look great, though, for someone who looks like a pig. No, you look really good. The lighting in here is doing plenty for you. Now,
it is.
We're at the pointy end of just about every basketballing tournament competition in the world, but we want to talk about the NBA. We had the trade deadline wrap up yesterday, or a matter of hours ago, and I think there was something like 16 trades in 24 hours involving 25 players. It was madness.
Absolute mayhem. Woj versus Shams. That's the only thing we worry about now.
Won?
Shams.
Yeah, he had a massive one. He's the hardest working person in the media, probably. Anyway,
Riz God.
we want to talk about the first big trade, and it was kind of like the one that shocked the entire world, and that was Kevin Durant traded to the Suns. I know you've got a
small
small towns in Venezuela that were just absolutely just blindsided.
They
by
were.
this trade.
Now, you have a lot of views about this. I want you to get stuck in and tell us, are they now the team to beat in the West?
I think you have to say that they are, but I'm also not sold because we've seen this before. When Durant went to the Warriors, all right, the Warriors had already won previously. Not a huge impact. I'm not saying it was a failure, but not a huge impact. Brooklyn, complete disaster. Who says it's going to work with what is already a dysfunctional team in the Phoenix Suns?
It's actually a very good point you raise. Now, we will look
That's why I
at
raised
the end of this episode at the actual markets, because the markets have come in, which is not a huge shock. But the next trade, now Kyrie Irving, it was pretty quiet with about a week to go, and then Kyrie Irving just decided he was going to request a trade, and then that's where all the dominoes kind of started to fall. Now, this is an interesting one. Obviously, he's gone to Dallas. He's got this guy called Luka Doncic, who he plays with. Not sure if you're aware of his exploits, but they're two ball-dominant guards. How the hell does this work?
Tell you how it works. Because it's Mavs Nation, baby.
Wow.
Cowboy boots are out. Mavs all the way. Somehow drifting in the market that we will touch on a little bit later.
We will touch on that.
I think this works.
You think it works?
I think Doncic has been ball dominant because he has to be ball dominant, but he's a European guard, knows how to play team basketball. I think this is going to work.
Well, let's get the graphic up. Let's get it up. Let's get it up on the screen now.
Get it up. Just get it right up
Here
there.
are the prices. As you can see, the Suns have come in massively, but talk us through the Dallas Mavericks, because their prices drifted after.
Yeah, I do not understand that at all, and the only thing I can imagine is one of the traders is asleep at the wheel at Sportsbet, which is absolutely no shock to me. But I'll tell you what, the Celtics right there in Milwaukee, I just don't really see much challenge there. Look, the Phoenix Suns, obviously, if the Durant stuff works, it works. Right now, Boston and Milwaukee are just miles ahead.
Yeah, so you still think the winner's going to come out of the East, even though all the key moves were done in the West?
Yep.
Well, I mean, I tend to agree with you, which is kind of rare for us. But
And when are you going to get yourself a pair of cowboy boots?
next week. Now, if you want to follow anything we've said in today, please make sure you do so responsibly.
You know the score. Stay in control. Gamble responsibly.
Well, the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix look to have it all sewn up in this game. Up 13 points. Simon Mitchell sitting back going, let's cruise this one away to a win. But no, a man named Bryce Cotton was just waiting in the wings like we've seen it so many times before. Now, Liam Santamaria and Damon Lowery, this was the first time I think I've been able to witness in person the greatness that is Bryce Cotton. And the whole time, even when Southeast Melbourne were up, everyone in the building is thinking, you know, this is not over because that man is down that end of the floor.
We was waiting. We knew it was coming, the explosion. Bryce was pedestrian for 3 quarters. And who kept him in the game? Brady Manick, Corey Webster, Tayshaun, they just kept him in. And Brady was sensational. For all the, he's had an up and down season, but man, he was good that day. And once the stage was set, enter Mr. Cotton. And he just went nuts in that last quarter. They tried everything. Mitch Creek was on him. He just don't have the foot speed. And let me just say this about Bryce. Never playing against the guy, obviously, but it's his speed, Liam. This dude is fast. Yes, he can shoot. Is he the greatest shooter in the NBL? I don't think so. Is he the best ball handler in the NBL? Debatable. But is he the fastest guy? He might be. And who can stay in front of this guy? So he's got these moves that he creates the separation based on his speed. I watched him relocate to get a three in the corner. He just like speeding it. He fast all the time. Even when he looks like he's tired, the guy is fast. It reminds me of one other guy that I played with back in the day. Cortez Groves had just speed. No matter what was going on the court, third quarter, fourth quarter, tired or not, the guy's fast. So that, I think, is a major, major factor in Bryce's effectiveness.
Well, it's the ability to stop on a dime as well. Like, you can be as fast as you want, but if you can't stop like that and rise up, and that's why he keeps getting these and one calls, because he just stops. The defender's going, straight into it.
Combined with the fact he jumps a little forward, it all comes and makes it hard for the defense. They're all the amazing things that he possesses physically. But for me, the thing that differentiates Bryce is he's the most competitive, the most clutch guy in the league.
Yeah.
He's a killer. And he did everything he possibly could today to make it work. 20 and 10, like at 6 boards or something like that. But he understands when it's go time. He understands when he can assert his greatness on a game, and he did that in that fourth quarter in an epic way. It's a joy to watch. I talked about it, recognizing in the moment what DJ Hogue did today.
Yeah.
We need to, everyone watching the NBL, whether you're a Wildcats fan or you hate the Wildcats, because there's probably no in between, you've got to make sure you're appreciating Bryce Cotton while he's playing. I think a lot of people look back on watching Jordan or Kobe or these other guys, LeBron, and think, I wish I appreciated that guy in his prime. That's what we're experiencing with Bryce Cotton.
There's the positives on Bryce Cotton. Now, the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix licking their wounds today. Simon Mitchell, I absolutely love Simon Mitchell, and I think he's a fantastic coach. And, if it's up to me, I think that he's done well enough to remain there, but I think I am in the minority of thinkers in that. Would I be right saying that?
I think they've got a lot of thinking to do.
Yeah.
He's out of contract. It's been 4 years, and I don't think they achieved what they wanted to this season, but they had an extreme amount of injuries that cost them an opportunity to be higher on the ladder, maybe even have a top 2 finish. But there's something that's been weird about the Phoenix, and that is when it goes bad, it goes horribly wrong. Like the first season, great start of the year, and then hardly won a game from there and missed the playoffs. Second season, up 17. In Game 3 against Melbourne United, it went bad and went horribly bad, and they lost and got knocked out. Third season, they were second on the table mid-year, and then Ryan Brockhoff got injured and it completely fell away, and then here up 13 in the fourth quarter.
And that's the hard part for me, because every year that Simon Mitchell's been at the helm, at one point of the year they have been labelled a genuine contender for the championship. But as you say, it's just tailed off at some point. Now, I think it is somewhat unfair to lose your job in that circumstance when the team is still good and you've had injuries, but it's a cutthroat league.
I'm never going to be one to say who should be fired, who shouldn't be fired. I got a job in the real world, everybody. So good luck to everybody making money in the basketball world. But let me tell you this.
Go on.
Yeah. If we're going to be sacking coaches every 2 to 4 years, who are we replacing them with?
That's the thing. There's got to be something viable on the market.
We are a 10-team league on an island of 30 million, if that. What are we doing to develop coaches? I know in the AFL, they got budgets. Coaches are going to spend time with Real Madrid and in Milan. They're going all over the place, upskilling their coaches. What are we doing? What is the NBL? What is the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix doing? And don't say I'm going to go to Vegas for the junket and go pick out a couple imports. What are you doing to help Simon Mitchell get better? What are you guys doing, NBL coaches, to get better? Do you just watch basketball games? Is that it? I would love to know what is being spent. That's just on that side of things. On the other side, Alan Williams, Big Sauce, who was stiff not to make that second team. You know he got 1 touch in the fourth quarter? 1 post touch, and that was not even on the block. He turned the ball over. So what's happening in a situation where you can't even give your guy the ball?
Well, tell you what, I just saw Liam start sweating when you came with the Vegas junkets because that has become one of his
That's his thing.
favourite parts
Come
of
on,
the
man.
year.
Hey,
Not
back
to
it up.
go.
Beep, beep.
We've got plenty more to come after the break.
From the Sydney Kings, Xavier Cooks.
Well, you look at that man right there. It's all about team honours at this time of the year, but it doesn't mean that we can't celebrate these individual accolades. Now, a hotly contested MVP race, which you think we're going to touch on. We've talked about Bryce Cotton a lot, but can you bring up that stat about Bryce Cotton with the awards?
Well, firstly, big ups to Xavier Cooks, because I think he was a worthy MVP.
Yeah.
We said I, along with a bunch of people, said, listen, Cooks, Creek, Cotton, whoever walks out with the MVP is deserving. So he deserves it. Secondly, Bryce Cotton has been in the league for 6 full seasons. He's won MVP 3 of them, and he's been runner-up, second in voting.
Ridiculous.
For the other 3. What an unbelievable talent.
Were there any omissions on the awards night? Maybe around the Defensive Player of the Year category, potentially?
Well, I thought that Justin Simons was completely disrespected. I think that Shea Illy,
Especially
as good as he is, should never have been on the ballot because he didn't play enough games. So I think we got to get, if the awards are being voted on by coaches and captains, got to scrap that.
Well, tell you what, guys, before we run out of time, I want to throw to this video because one of the most amazing things ever happened to me. Have a look at this little clip here of a pigeon that I ran into at Hunky Dory. I went to throw it a bit of rice, Liam Santamaria, and it's landed right on the top of the dome, and it's just walked around with a trophy of war, showing it off to the other pigeons. Now, I've been called a terrible shooter from my NBL career, but you're telling you, try making that shot onto the top of a pigeon's head.
That's elite.
Yeah, you talk Bryce Cotton all you want, but that is dead-eye shooter. But anyway, big games coming up. The final series is finally here. Damon Lowery, Liam Santamaria, Felix Von Hofe, currently looking like a beetroot. Thank you for joining in. We'll see you next time.